I think about, man, I have to perform songs every single night or every other night.
Everyone knows Bruno Mars, the performer, but nobody knew the real Bruno. The kid who performed 1,000 shows before age 10, the teenager who slept in abandoned zoos, the man who lost everything to gambling. At 39, Bruno chose to reveal the entire story. Not only about money he owes, not only about Jessica leaving him, but about the child trauma that pushed him to stardom, the addiction that nearly destroyed his career, and the dark family secret he's been carrying for decades. What he has to say will make everything different. Bruno Mars was 4 years old when most children were still mastering the art of reading. Where others were playing with toys, he was already doing 2 shows daily, 5 days a week. His family had a musical performance in Wiki, and he became their star performer. They nicknamed him Little Elvis as he dressed in a small glitter jumpsuit and mimicked Elvis Presley's actions like he was born to do so. He was so talented that in 1990 at age 5, he stole the show at the Aloha Bowl halftime performance in front of 40,000 spectators. At age 6, he was on the Arsenio Hall television show. He then played a minor role in the film Honeymoon in Vegas in 1992 and earned $600 for a day's work. He joked afterwards that it was his first Vegas residency. Bobby had already done almost 1,000 shows before he was even 10 years old. That's the kind of beginning that creates something inside you. Perhaps that's why all those years later, when he was rehearsing for the Super Bowl halftime performance, he described it as feeling like recess. Life wasn't so sparkling bright for long, though. When Bruno was 12, his parents broke up and the family act was over. There was no stage, no lights, and no money suddenly. Bruno, his father, and his brother slept wherever they could, at times in a yellow '93 Cadillac, at times on roofs in Wiki, and even once in a deserted bird zoo where peacocks screamed at night. They did not have an actual bathroom, so they'd break into hotel pools just to shower. Supper was sometimes merely Spam musubi from 7-Eleven. They went without electricity for 5 months. He played guitar by moonlight because they couldn't afford amps. Kids at school made fun of him for dressing in thrift store attire, but Bruno persisted. He made $75 a night doing Michael Jackson impersonations so he could buy demo tapes and bus fare. That hardship toughened him up. Music labels listened to his demo in 2003 and told him he must be the next Ricky Martin. They wanted him to record in Spanish. Although he didn't write in Spanish, he didn't want that. He didn't wish to be a label's conception of a Latin artist. So, he chose a name from childhood, Bruno. It was after a giant wrestler named Bruno Sammartino, and he added Mars. Why? Because a girl once told him he was so cocky, you have to be from Mars. When he relocated to Los Angeles in June 2003, he was 18. He got off the plane with a total of $600, 3 demo CDs, and a moniker Bruno Mars scribbled on his luggage label. During his first year, he navigated 4 living locations, ranging from $40 a night motel off Sunset to a tiny Koreatown studio that he split with 6 other dudes. He finagled a DJ gig on Van New York Boulevard by lying about it, even though he had never touched a piece of DJ equipment in his life. He was let go after 2 nights, but the $75 he earned kept his phone from being shut off. There were weeks that summer when he survived on nothing but 99-cent tacos at Jack in the Box. In February of 2004, Madhone made him a contract. It was a mere 3 pages. Bruno joked that he'd read thicker breakfast menus. The label was unsure of what to do with him. They needed a Latin pop performer. 9 months later, they released him without putting out 1 song. It was shameful. He had already informed his family in his hometown that he got signed up, but that failure proved fortuitous. Another artist who was dropped by Madhone at the same time was Philip Lawrence. The two were buddies. They vowed to one another they would create music record companies couldn't help but notice. In 2006, Bruno and Philip were broke but motivated. They composed music in the trunk of Philip's beat-up '99 Toyota Corolla in front of a small studio in Hollywood. Ari Levine was the owner. He possessed equipment. Bruno and Philip had creativity. They'd purchase him burritos from 7-Eleven in lieu of compensation. Whenever a chord or beat felt good, they'd shout, That's it. That became their name, the Smezingtons. They worked 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, analyzing hit songs and learning how to write their own. They studied more than 1,000 songs before even releasing one. Then Bruno's sister, Hey, stepped in. She was doing fashion work in West Hollywood and slipped one of his demo CDs to a fellow by the name of Mike Lynn. Mike was with Dr. Dre. He came close to throwing the CD at first because the voice sounded strange, like a chipmunk. But when he heard Bruno sing a high note at 43 seconds into it, Mike paused and rewound. He brought Bruno out to fly him up for a meeting at Record One Studios. They didn't make a deal, but that someone of note had taken notice provided Bruno with an actual boost. In LA, getting seen by the proper party can make all the difference. To make ends meet, they sold a song they wrote for themselves titled Lost to Menudo for $20,000. It was just enough to not get tossed out of their apartment. But their break came when they composed a chorus for Florida's Right Round. #1 hit and sold 636,000 downloads in its first week. That was a digital record. Then they composed Bobo's Nothing on You, and it was a hit as well. By the time Bruno dropped Just the Way You Are in 2010, songs he co-wrote were already selling over 15 million downloads for someone else. Bruno Mars didn't blow up overnight. He started off on his solo career with a Blink and You Miss It EP entitled It's Better If You Don't Understand. It was released on May 11th, 2010 with virtually no publicity, only 4 tracks, and only 13 minutes long. By the end of 2011 had sold a paltry 27,000 copies in the US. It was small, forgettable looking. But concealed in that mini EP were songs that would form the foundation of something much larger. Only 5 months after that, he came out with Do Waps and Hooligans on October 2010. That one was like a bomb hit. Produced on a budget of $70,000 without borrowing any samples, the album went 7x platinum in the US and reached 15 million worldwide sales by 2020. In the UK alone, it remained on the official albums chart for 400 consecutive weeks. That's almost 8 years, longer than Abbey Road or even Thriller. Then there were the singles. His first, Just the Way You Are, debuted on the Billboard Hot 100 on 7th of August, 2010, and reached #1 only 8 weeks later. It remained on the chart for 48 weeks and sold 13x platinum. It sold 6.7 million downloads in the US alone, placing it in the top 25 digital songs of all time. Then Grenade came along. It secured 559,000 downloads in its strongest week. That was the 8th largest weekly total ever in music at the time. It wasn't just a #1 hit in the US. It reached #1 on 15 charts. And it wasn't done. In January and March of 2011, Grenade reached #1 on the Billboard chart 3 times, which only 5 other songs have ever accomplished. In March of 2011, Bruno had 2 songs each of which had been certified over 5 million in US sales. Lady Gaga was the only other artist to accomplish that prior to him. The music world took notice. The Grammys awarded him 7 nominations in his first go, among which were Album and Record of the Year. No solo male debut had received that since Lauryn Hill. He didn't win the biggest ones, but he did take home Best Male Pop Vocal for Just the Way You Are. He was just 25 and the youngest person to take that award since Stevie Wonder in 1974. Shortly thereafter, Billboard declared him their leading Hot 100 artist. The IFBI declared him the best-selling international artist in 2011, even surpassing the late year burst of Adele. But he wasn't finished. October 2012 saw Locked Out of Heaven. It began slowly, landing on the charts at position 34. Then it rose. Within 11 weeks, it reached #1 and remained there for 6 consecutive weeks. From 22nd of December 2012 to 26th of January 2013. That made Bruno the first solo male artist since Bobby Vinton in 1964 to have 4 Hot 100 numbered ones within his first 2 years. Even Michael Jackson didn't achieve that. Sales kept up too. The track hit 1 million US downloads in just 10 weeks and eventually went 10x platinum. Spotify streams later climbed past 1.8 billion. Critics didn't see it coming. Rolling Stone called it the Police revival nobody ordered but everyone needed. That reggae rock beat broke up the EDM monotony that had taken over the charts. In less than 4 minutes, Bruno shifted the entire sound of pop radio. Originally, Unorthodox Jukebox was not supposed to be crazy. The label had envisioned a sleek, hooky dance record, but secretly Bruno and his collaborators played it up. They blew the budget and experimented with 9 genres. From the disco sheen of Treasure to the assertive, sensual rock of Gorilla and even reggae with Show Me, the label freaked out. One memo cautioned that radio wouldn't spin an album so crazy. Bruno didn't hesitate. He even sacrificed 4% of his future royalties to finance live horns and old equipment. The gamble paid off. The album had sold 6 million copies in 1 year worldwide. Critics were amazed. Spin magazine described it as listening to a jukebox at 3 a.m. mad but compelling. And Bruno's genre fusion template would be replicated by artists such as Dua Lipa and Harry Styles. The 2014 Grammys brought further pyrotechnics. Unorthodox Jukebox took home the top pop vocal album and 2 other awards. Engineers announced that each song incorporated over 120 separate audio tracks, most of any nominee that year, even more than Daft Punk's Access Memories. That evening, while he performed a Gorilla act, a complaint was made to the FCC regarding a 0.6-second clip of Bruno pounding his chest. It was intended to be an imitation of a gorilla. No penalty was imposed, but it did land him a place in the 2015 Guinness World Records for the shortest TV act to prompt a review for obscenity. Sales increased after the Grammys. Non-traditional Jukebox skyrocketed 171% on the Billboard 200. That was one of the largest Grammy Week surges since Alanis Morissette in the 9S. Then there was Uptown Funk.